Hello and welcome to a long distance episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And from California, I'm Bill.
And we got the Rams and Chiefs are going on right now, and it looks like the Rams are the better of those two teams, apparently, right?
16-7 Rams, but Tyreek Hill's causing problems for the Rams.
As he causes problems for everybody.
And he's already got a touchdown, and he just got another pass for about 25 yards. And they say that they get the one guy that can run to them, and Booger McFarland says, and we've already learned that he can't run with him.
No.
Nobody can run with Tyreek Hill.
Very few people. Maybe Darius Slay. Did you see him tackle that guy?
No.
He chased the guy down. It was like an 85-yard play. He caught him. He caught Moore from Carolina, who ran like a 4.240, but Darius Slay ran a 4.340. And he chased him down from the other side of the field and prevented a touchdown. It was like an 84-yard passing play. He's fast. But I think the one thing that seems to be clear, and I think people are already talking about this, is you can't really... There's no such thing as a good defense in the NFL anymore. Like, the Bears are probably the best, but the Bears still give up a ton of points. Like, the way the league is structured, defense...
Saints defense.
I don't know. I mean, the Saints are just overwhelming right now.
They are overwhelming. You say this is not a Super Bowl matchup that we're watching tonight. I think the best game of the year, the two best games coming up this year are going to be the Steelers and the Saints, and then the Saints and the Rams in the NFC Finals. I think something stupid happened, and I just can't. The Saints are unbelievable to me.
And the Saints are playing the Steelers at home, so I'm not even sure how much of a game that... I mean, obviously, as a Steeler fan, we want it to be a good game, but like I said, I've been to a game now in the Dome, and it's one of the loudest places I've ever been. And that's a city that already loves that team incredibly much. You know, they just love that team to death. And then you add in the fact that they're 9-1 and crushing everybody, and like they are just going nuts at work everywhere around town.
They were yesterday. Those throwback ones with the gold numbers.
They look good.
That's a sweet uniform. That's one of my favorites.
And oddly, the Saints have only lost one game this year, and they lost to Fitzmagic and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were an absolute mess.
I know. Can't crap with it.
But they lost in a shootout. They still put up a ridiculous number of points. They just lost
They scored almost 400 points already.
Yeah. And Fitzpatrick can hang 5 or 6 touchdowns on somebody at least once a year and then suck the rest of the year. But he somehow does that every year that he gets playing time somehow. Which is just a mess. That's probably the weirdest team in the NFL, I think, right now. Because they seem to have an immense amount of talent on that team, maybe outside of quarterback. But those Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just not a good team.
No, I can't figure them out. But I don't think anybody can. I mean, that's why new coach, new general manager, maybe new quarterback, who knows? They're a mess. They are an absolute mess.
So as of right now, November 20th, I think, 19th, 20th? Whichever day it is. It seems pretty clear we've got the Saints far and away the number 1 seed in the NFC, followed by the Rams. And then who do you like after that? I mean, Dallas or Washington is going to win that division. You can't see either one of those teams doing anything in the playoffs.
No, I don't like either of those.
Neither of those. Because I mean, Philly...
I like Green Bay. I'm not sold. I guess the Bears, I'm going to have to say.
Well, the Bears are going to win that division, but you can't imagine the Bears beating either one of those two teams.
No. I mean, it's going to get down to those two teams.
Yeah.
The Bears, and, you pick the wild cards. It doesn't matter.
No, the wild card, I mean, you got to imagine, despite the way they played the last 2 weeks, Carolina still looks technically like one of those two teams. But it's... The NFC seems far more...
AFC is going to be far more interesting.
Right, because the Chiefs had never been to the... Pat Mahomes had never played a playoff game. And they're vulnerable, obviously, on defense. And we've seen that the Steelers and the Patriots can keep up with them points-wise.
And we've seen yesterday the Steelers can play a terrible game and still win.
Yeah, but you can't play that way against the Patriots or the Chiefs or even the Chargers. Maybe the Chargers.
No, but the fact that you win as bad as you play, that's impressive to me.
Right, but I'm saying, like, if the AFC Championship game, if it was...
No, you can't play. No. I'm just saying.
Any of those four
there are times
teams.
you stumble along the way,
Yeah.
and they should have stumbled yesterday, and they didn't.
No. And they tried to blow that
Or
game.
they stumbled and they still won.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to say.
I mean, they had opportunities that they still blew, and they still ended up winning that game. Like the James Conner drop touchdown.
Yeah, it was a wild game.
It's a very wild game. But, I mean, Steelers, Chiefs, Patriots, I guess Chargers. And you know who's been on fire lately?
Yesterday.
Well, not yesterday, but the Colts have absolutely been crushing it since those first early weeks.
Well, Chargers blew the game yesterday.
Yeah. But, I mean, you have because the Texans are a bizarre team, too. I know they've won 7 in a row. They just don't look very good to me.
That's why I said the AFC is so much more interesting.
Like, I think the Colts and the Titans both look better than the Texans, but the Texans have a pretty big lead on those teams right now.
Yeah, because they're both 5-5, right?
Right. And the Texans have won 7 in a row after starting out 0-3.
And the Falcons continue to stink up the joint.
Yeah, but that's not surprising, though, I don't think. All things considered.
But I watched the Denver-San Diego game yesterday. Case Keenum actually looked really good to me.
Well, I think that's another interesting thing. Like, obviously, hopefully things work out well for him. When you look at the quarterback rotation of Case Keenum, who got 3 years and I think maybe like $19 million guaranteed. Alex Smith, who got a $90 million contract. And obviously yesterday was awful. One of the worst injuries we've seen in a while with that broken leg. Same as Joe Theismann.
3 years later.
Yeah. But he wasn't playing good beforehand. And then you look at the team Case Keenum came from, the team that paid the most money for Kirk Cousins, is that little trio of teams all swap quarterbacks. And he's been, I guess okay. But the Vikings are a far worse team than they were last year with Case Keenum.
I agree.
So Case Keenum ended up just being the best of those three, and he got the least amount of money, I think.
I'm trying to figure out the Vikings.
Well, I think the Vikings team was built around having one of the best defenses in football. And I think we've seen the NFL does not want defense. So, I mean, I know they have Thielen and Diggs, though, so it's not like they don't have weapons on offense. But I think that was a team that really, they excelled on defense last year, and you just can't excel on defense this year. It doesn't work.
No, not at all.
I wish it did, but defense has kind of been, I think with gambling and fantasy, and I think just casual viewing of football, like the more scores, the better. I don't know if they can tweak it anymore in the offense's favor, because I don't think that would be enjoyable to watch at all. But
well, they've changed the way they call penalties since the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that was good. That's had an effect on scoring. Let's look at college football for a minute.
I'll let you handle this one.
Interestingly enough, all the SEC teams had just a ridiculous opponent this week. Just this, this is cupcake week.
Right.
All throughout the whole SEC, it's kind of crazy. So I don't know how they get away with that, but they did. And the Big 12 advertises as the only league where the top 2 teams are guaranteed to play in the finals, and every team plays everybody else, which is legit. That's a legitimate statement they can make.
They can, but it hasn't really done them any good.
No, it hasn't. It really hasn't. But there's a real, I don't know. I look at it all the time. It's like the guys making the rules are making the rules to keep everybody else out. And they're doing a really good job. As long as we let them do that, then nobody else is going to get in.
No.
You're going to have 2 SEC teams in every year.
And they seem to. And like I said, it's sort of that self-fulfilling prophecy where you say that the SEC has, 8 of the top 25 teams, which guarantees that no matter how good those, teams are, you play, 4 or 5 games against top 25 teams in your schedule. And they go, well, look, they played this incredible schedule. But it's like, yeah, they played, And obviously, the SEC has a ton of players in the NFL, and they've got great teams. But it seems very top loaded that they have to. I mean, you had a 2-loss Alabama team in the Final Four one year.
Yeah.
Like
well, UCF won, and UCF hosted game day, and I got to tell you, they looked really good on game day.
Yeah.
The turnout was unbelievable, and the way the city supported it and everything, I think sent a really good message. If there's any expansion, I think UCF's got a legit shot.
Well, I remember when I was in grad school there, like that football program really blew up.
It was good, then it was bad, and then it totally blew up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gotten ridiculous. I mean, it's really good. I mean, I'm surprised they're only favored by 13 points this week against USF. I realize it's a rivalry game that's on the road, but USF's been blowing games for the last 3-4 weeks now.
Well, UCF did a really good job of creating tailgating spaces and making it like a fun set. They really embraced sort of this.
Once they get the on-campus thing, it changed the whole thing.
Yeah, and really embracing, they let people start tailgating early, which I know a lot of schools are a little bit worried about, but they've done a good job of allowing it to be still a fun, party atmosphere where people just get excited. They want to go to the game because it's a fun place to go.
Once they get rid of O'Leary, they got Scott Frost, and Scott Frost built a great program, and Josh Heppel's been doing tremendous with, granted, they're all Frost players, but still.
Yeah.
A transition like that, losing the coach really hasn't made a difference at all.
No, and they have not lost.
Scott Frost has won like 3 or 4 in a row now in Nebraska.
And they are undefeated, UCF, for 2 years now.
Yep. And I think they'll go undefeated until they play Houston, and then we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I think Houston's going to be a team that can beat them. And if not, then if they end up in a New Year's Six bowl, if it's somebody that's totally disappointed that they didn't get in the playoffs like last year with Auburn, they'll win again. It's got to be somebody that's up to playing UCF and views the game as a great opportunity, not a disappointment to be playing them.
Yeah, I think that's a crutch for some of those good teams, though. That's always like the narrative they liked it, whether it was Boise State a few years ago.
I'd give UCF its due, but Auburn did not want to be in that game. And they played like it. They played like they didn't want to be there.
Well, they also got punched in the mouth right off the get-go. I mean, sometimes that's all it takes,
I think they didn't want to be there. They were gifts to go. They didn't want to be there. They were so disappointed that they weren't in anything bigger than this. They treated it like that, and they didn't care.
Well, you could argue if you had a heart, if you had a...
The players were down for that game.
Yeah, but your players should be like, we're going to show the world that we should have been there and beat them by 60, and they didn't do it. I mean...
Or you're just disappointed not going to do it. But that's what happened. So this year we're going to have to see what happens. We're going to have to see who it is.
Yeah, I don't buy that narrative. I think that's a way of, again, diminishing whether it's Boise State, Houston, all these different schools. It's like, well, they didn't want to play them.
We're going to agree to disagree on this.
Yeah. If you're a college kid and this is your bowl game,
Oklahoma, UCF.
Your chance to be on national television, show the nation that you should have been there, and you come up lame, that's not.
Auburn was on national television all year.
Right, but this is your chance to tell the BCS, like, you guys made a mistake, we should have been there, we're going to put this team in the dirt, we're going to beat them by 50. And they didn't do it.
But they lost the game before, which is why they were down.
Yeah, but...
So there was nothing the BCS could have done. They didn't get in. They lost the game.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's a way of diminishing, it's a narrative
maybe this year we see Oklahoma and UCF.
Yeah. But I mean, like, speaking of Oklahoma, when they lost to Boise State a few years ago, it was like, oh, Oklahoma wasn't up to play. And every time a big school loses to a small school that had a great year.
No, that game, everybody said Boise State had some trick plays and I executed them. I mean, that's the game Coach Peterson got the job to go to Washington.
No, I'm just saying every time that narrative pops up, that it's the cry of the big schools to be like, well, they weren't up to play. That's why the little school won.
All right, we're going to debate all night because I don't agree with you on that one. I thought Boise State won that game and surprised everybody but out-executed them and was really ingenuine in their play calling, and their coach got a great job because of it.
Yeah.
Oh. Kansas City just tied the game up on a run by Kareem Hunt. Well, it was a run, but it was a pass. It was a 21-yard pass, and I think the ball's in the air 2 yards.
Well, that counts a touchdown. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So we had some
Like
interesting.
they actually held them to the field goal last time they had the ball.
Nice.
So now they're going to take the lead. It's going to be up 17-16. But Kansas City's a slow starting team.
Yeah.
Except when they played the Steelers, then we're up to a fast starting team.
Well, the interesting thing, before we wrap up our NFL, I guess, football coverage overall, in the AFC, the Patriots will have played the Chiefs and the Steelers. Steelers will have played the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Chargers, and the Titans.
Yep.
So it seems like it won't be the first matchup of almost any of those teams, depending on who gets in. But they'll all have played each other at least once. So it won't be like the first time they're seeing each other.
And the Saints have played the Rams.
Right.
And will either of them have played the Bears?
It's a good question.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so. The Bears, I don't know what to think. The Bears are just a weird team. I don't know what to say about them. They look like world beaters one week, and they are one of the few defenses in the league that really, I think they do the things that you can get away with in defense right now. Is if you keep constant pressure on the quarterback, which they can do with Khalil Mack, and then I think you just, you get a few sacks and get a few stops that way. I mean, I don't think you can normally, you can't do play defense like you used to. You can't be an old Steelers beat them, pound them, beat them. You're not going to beat teams, 17-10, and vice versa. We've had some very interesting NBA stuff this week.
Yes, we've had. Is Carmelo gone now?
I think he's. I don't know if he's officially gone, but he's no longer with the team. And everybody has talked about how great he was as a teammate. They sort of eulogized him in a nice way. And
I think we talked a little bit about last week. I said if he doesn't end up on the Lakers, I don't think he plays.
No, like I said, other people like myself that are pseudo Knicks fans, we're terrified that he goes back to the Knicks. That seems like a very James Dolan move. I feel like the new Knicks owners, or the people running the Knicks, are being smart and doing some really good things. And I think if you're the Knicks, the best thing you could do is keep Porzingis out for the year, play these young guys, let them get some minutes, and then hope you end up with one of those three Duke guys, or healthy Porzingis, and then run it back and we go after it next year. And you have a full slot, because if these guys, if Kevin Knox comes back and looks like he does, Porzingis looks like he's going to be healthy going into next year, you get one of the top draft picks, and now you have, as we're about to talk about, an unhealthy Golden State team that doesn't really like each other anymore. Maybe this would be Kevin Garnett's chance to have his own team. I mean, at this point, that's all he can really do for himself,
Yeah.
Because I've heard mixed things. You probably heard more than I have, but one of the big narratives of Kevin Garnett recently is that, he's like, he can't get away from the fact that he joined the team that beat him. Like, he's always going to, even though he won 2 finals MVPs, it's clearly Steph's team to the crowd,
Yep.
And, no matter how well he plays there, it's like, yeah, you joined a team that already won a championship, which was what Draymond was saying during their little scuffle.
Well, let's also say that Kevin Durant there's not a lot of personality there. And Steph Curry's a very likable player.
Yeah.
And a very engaging, energetic player. And Kevin Durant is kind of morose.
And I've heard 3 hour-and-a-half long podcasts with Kevin Durant. And I don't know if he's he doesn't view him, sitting on social media arguing with people about how good he is under fake names as being weak or soft. He doesn't think anything wrong with, he's very sensitive.
Yeah.
And, again, like I said, I mean, they're still the best team in the NBA, and I think they'll be able to blow past this, but it seems clear that he doesn't want, the ownership wants him to be there next year, but I don't know if he wants to be there.
Funny, Jason, if he goes to LA, whose team's that?
That's what they're saying. If he goes to LA, he can't go, I mean, he has to go to a team where he is the guy, where it can be his team. And I think with the Knicks, it could be.
Wasn't his team in Oklahoma City?
No, that was
He
definitely.
the star. Russ was his backup.
Yeah, but Russ was the guy. I mean, it was Russ and KD. It was Russ, James, and KD. It was Russ and Ibaka. But I mean, plus they didn't win anything. But I think Russ was the alpha of that team. And now he's, I think he thought, after the first year, I mean, I've heard him say this literally in podcasts too, from his own mouth, is that, once he gets a little comfortable, he starts talking, not thinking about it. I think he thought after the first year, the talk about him joining the team that beat him would sort of have gone away. That then he would have just been him and the Warriors. He's their best player. He's leading the championships. All is good. But then, people continue to say, you joined a championship team. Draymond, and after he was yelling at him and said a bunch of other stuff apparently as well, but was basically like, I know one of the quotes that people heard was, "We won before you got here. We'll win when you're gone." Like,
yeah.
Which, if you have, a healthy Steph, a healthy Clay, a healthy Draymond, and 10 other guys, yeah,
a healthy Boogie Cousins,
yeah, you can win.
Yeah, you for sure win.
Obviously, KD's an amazing player, and it definitely helps to have him on that team. But I mean, and that's not the only team with unrest right now. Although we should go to circle back to the Golden State thing. Like, I don't mean people are saying that Draymond really crossed the line with some of the things he said, but management suspending him and suspending him a paid, not a paid suspension or an unpaid suspension, losing a game check. That's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big shot over the bow of Draymond, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's $100,000 fine, basically, right?
Basically, yeah. And I thought, in the moment, I understand, give me the ball, Kevin Durant. But I thought he sort of pushed it over the line a little bit once they got back to the bench. Like, Draymond Green is not a scrub, And he had Clay wide open on that wing. He just, if he had been able to get past that guy, he would have hit Klay Thompson. They probably win that game. He's great. And I think in the 10th game of the season or 12th game of the season, I don't think you go that hard at a guy like Draymond, if you're Kevin Durant. I think he could have handled it better too. Because I think you were basically being like, "You're some scrub. Why didn't you give me the ball?"
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. We don't know exactly what was said. No, it wasn't good. It wasn't positive. It wasn't constructive. I think the reason they fined Draymond was, I think, all told, he was getting a little bit out of control and they wanted to slap him back to reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works for a guy like Draymond and sometimes it backfires. So let's see where it goes. But Kevin Durant's gone. I absolutely see that. I don't see any way he stays. Maybe if he goes, Klay Thompson stays. I don't know.
But another team that's been fighting amongst themselves and with their coaching staff and flipping off their coaching staff is the Washington Wizards, who are probably in like one of the worst positions you can be in the NBA, right? You have Beal.
They're not bad enough to get good draft pick, and they're not good enough to get free agent.
Nope. And you got Beal, Wall, and Otto Porter all making almost max money. And they've all been devalued by how badly they played and how poorly they get along together. I mean, Beal is probably, the most desirable piece. 25, he's shown more promise than the other guys, but they've been, the quotes today, I know that they fined John Wall for cussing out the coach. They quoted Bradley Beal as saying, "This is the kind of crap I've been putting up with for 6 years. I'm sick of it." I mean, that's about as mess as you can be right now, isn't it?
They're a mess, there's no question about it. But they're never, they're always a little less than you think they are, and never as much as you think they could be. That's the kind of team they are.
Right. But a piece like Bradley Beal, who's still young, can play defense, if he ends up in the right situation, and the speculation is that a team that would love to have him and has some assets to maybe go get him is the LA Lakers. Because LeBron doesn't have that many more years of his we assume. I mean, he seems like some sort of marvel and freak of nature, but we assume he doesn't have that many years left in his prime. And maybe rather than waiting for one or two of these young guys, the Kuzmas and those guys, to really come up, you pair him with a guy like Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal gets in a new situation, a winning situation. He gets away from John Wall.
Well, there's going to be a lot of speculation about who's going to join LeBron next year because they got a lot of cap room.
They do. And a lot, like I said, in this year, they've got a lot of young pieces to trade or deal with.
Yep. So we're going to see where it goes.
And maybe
there's going to be a lot of speculation.
A lot of speculation.
He's going to have some serious pieces around him for next year. And at the same time, the Golden State situation is we keep going back to if it's toxic now and it stays toxic next year, it could be a shot for the Lakers to come all the way back because Houston's getting too old.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Houston can, Houston's all that anyhow. Oklahoma City doesn't have enough pieces.
No. Utah's been somewhat of a disappointment.
Utah?
Yeah. I mean,
I would take whatever the Lakers are going to put around LeBron over Denver and Utah.
I don't think, given LeBron's pedigree and the amount of talent, I think young talent and, pseudo-veteran players they have on the Lakers right now, I don't think it's out of the question for the Lakers to be the 2 seed this year. Because like you said, Houston does not look like the team they were last year. Oklahoma City's got, a lot of missing pieces, and they have no assets to go get anything else. I think Denver's a nice young team. Utah's a nice young team. It's been a little disappointing this year. Portland has been what always Portland has been. The Lakers, actually both LA teams, because the Clippers look really good. I know that.
San Antonio's down a little bit, so.
Yeah. And in the East, you basically have your core four of Milwaukee, Boston, who started off a little bit slow, Toronto, and then, of course, Philly with the newly acquired Jimmy Butler.
Philly should be good. And Minnesota's looking to be a playoff team, I believe.
You think
they're
they're
an 8 or 7 at best, but I think they'll be better.
Yeah. But I think it's much more open right now than we thought it was going to be. The West doesn't look nearly as top-heavy as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the East is, the East seems pretty clear that it's those 4 teams. But, I don't know. It's just much more open.
It is much more open. Well, let me get to my business moment.
Okay.
And this is one of those things, Jason, I don't know how I feel about it. But Major League Baseball obviously feels that it can have a market in London.
Really?
And so they are playing a game with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Okay.
You're sitting over one of your best rivalries, 2 of your better teams, and that's the game you're going to play in London this year.
Are they going to play like a series, like a 3-game series, or?
I don't play a series if they're playing one game.
Okay.
The tickets are going on sale. I think there'll be some curiosity.
Sure.
But, this is a country that had cricket before we had baseball.
Right.
So we'll have to see. The NFL has done better than I thought it would in London and really build up a fandom.
Yes.
You can watch NFL games in London on Sundays, regularly, and so the whole bit's going on. This one I'm a little more skeptical about, but, if you're going to try and make a foothold, the Yankees and Red Sox are probably the way you want to go to do it.
Do you think London is the place you'd want to take baseball to, though?
I don't think so.
Where else are they play? Do they play games in Japan and Mexico and some other?
They played games in Japan before, yeah.
Okay. Because Japan and Mexico and South American places seem like a much more obvious place.
They've already got, they want to see what this London market's going to be, so.
Right.
We watch it. I think the game's in June.
Well, obviously they're going to do great numbers because you put the Yankees and Red Sox, even if it's a 3-game series, I'm sure they would sell out because it's an event.
Hey, if Manchester City and Man U came here and played, people would go just because they've heard about them, and that's what you're going to get with this.
Yeah.
Plus,
And
there's a curiosity factor here. You want to see what all this fuss is about baseball and see these guys and see what yada yada yada. See guys hit the ball 300 feet. So we'll see what happens.
yeah. Well, not that I would advocate for them to do anything shady, but if they were going to use, juiced balls, that might be a nice game to do it in. Just,
Yeah.
throw it out there. Just a little bit.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, my entertainment moment. I'm watching Homecoming with
Julia Roberts.
and Bobby Carvel. And I got to tell you, I like it. And the Rams defense just picks up a fumble and runs to the end zone.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Homecoming.
Julia Roberts is a good actress. And she's in a good role. And she's very believable. And it's a really good story. And as you and I talked offline, the segments are about 28 minutes. And I think there's 12 episodes. So it's very, very tight.
I was about to say, I was like, I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't remember very many, thriller dramas coming in at, 28-minute episodes.
No, I don't either.
But I really like it. I mean, that's awesome,
And it stays really tight. It's crisp. There's not a lot of subplots. It stays true to the main story and the main characters. And it's very well told. And the plot is believable. So a lot of good things about it.
Yeah.
And then tonight I am going to watch The Little Drummer Girl. Well, actually, the next 3 nights.
I'm excited about that as well. I've actually pre-purchased that from iTunes because I was really excited to watch that. And I don't get AMC.
They had really good reviews this morning in USA Today, especially with the actress.
Nice.
And the actress is not a known person, right?
Not to me. I mean, I'm sure everybody's known to somebody.
Not to me either, but I was surprised.
But I would say this, as someone that works in the field, there are a ton of talented actors that never get a chance. Actors, it's sadly not a business built around talent. So even when you see the people at the Oscars, those are not the best actors in the world, no matter what people want to say. So.
Hey, is there a character on your show, and it says New Orleans, played by Amy Rutland?
Not regularly, no.
Not regularly, but is she like a ghost or something?
Is she blonde?
Yeah.
She's not a ghost. She's an angel.
Okay.
Because, yes, this show has angels. Sometimes.
Okay. I was reading something. I was watching something. I was at the gym, and I didn't have my headphones on. So I was watching a bike, and I thought it said a ghost or an angel or something, and they showed it was Scott Bakula.
Yeah, no, she's an angel on the show. And she's appeared in multiple episodes.
Interesting.
As an angel. So.
Okay.
There you go. My entertainment moment, I actually finished Red Dead Redemption 2, the Rockstar video game that, I mean, technically, I know they skew numbers but it was the fastest selling single piece of entertainment in history. But I know that some of that's skewed, obviously, by, inflation and numbers and all those sorts of things. But it was an absolutely incredible Western that I really wish was a TV show. As fun as it was as a game, like, I was really, I looked forward more to the scenes where it was just the voice actors and the motion cap people talking.
Well, I've seen the commercials for it.
Because it's a very complex Western story. Like, video games have, I think, in a lot of ways, have surpassed movies and television as far as some of the writing goes. They're able to do things both smaller. There's games like My Dragon Cancer, which a husband and wife made a small game about losing their child to cancer, a baby. And it's an incredibly beautiful, emotional experience. That puts you a little bit closer to the story by playing the action. And there's games that have done an amazing job of representing depression and some other things along those lines. But also cinematically, there's been some games that have just been phenomenal storytelling, and this is phenomenal storytelling. As a game itself, it's good. As a story, it's amazing. Some really well done characters, descents into Matt. I mean, it just redemption and all. It's really good. And like I said, every time I play it, I'm like, this would make such a good show.
Well, I've got an observation I need to make now.
Okay.
So this is my week in California. And on Saturday, Ohio State, Michigan comes on at 8 a.m.
That's fantastic.
I know. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I think if I lived out here, I wouldn't get anything done ever. Because usually, I wouldn't watch the late game because the late game would be on at 10:30.
Right.
But here's the late game's on 7:30, so I can still watch the late game as well as I've watched the game at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I think it could be really dangerous for me to live out here.
Well, I think you're a pretty hard worker. I'm sure you would adjust. But
I don't know. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to watching Thanksgiving Day at 9:30.
I must admit, when I did live out there, like, Sunday football is so awesome. I mean, the first game comes on at, what is it, 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
It's great.
10 a.m.
You wake up.
But it's better because if Ohio State, Michigan's on 8 a.m.
Yeah, you wake up, have breakfast, and enjoy the game.
Well, I'm thinking I might have to get some donuts the night before so I don't have to leave my bedroom.
It's even better.
So I get a food moment.
Okay.
I've had this food moment before, but we went tonight, Mama D's in Newport Beach. The original Mama D's, just outstanding. I had it's called chicken and sausage capri. And it's chicken, sausage, pasta, buffalo mozzarella, and a fried diablo sauce. Outstanding. And I always get a meatball to go with it because their meatballs are tremendous.
I was like, that sounds right up your alley.
Oh, it's tremendous. Loved it.
Sadly, again, I know I live in a food city, but I haven't had a chance to. I mean, we work on set, so we get the catering is pretty much any good place I've told you about. I've already told you about, and I just haven't gone out much on the weekends lately. I don't know.
Well, I want to shout out to Chase Jones because he went to your pizza place. What's it called? Oak something?
Oak Oven, yeah.
Oak Oven, and posted his pizza stop and said that he found it on our show. And his only regret is he could have been going there for years. How many pizzas he's missed?
Yeah, it's a solid. And we actually got it catered at the studio this week. They make a really good chicken Alfredo.
I think you're a connoisseur of Alfredo.
I am. And like I said, the meatball itself, in so many ways, is great. I feel like there's one ingredient in there that I can't quite put my finger on that throws it off a tiny bit. And their sauce on the pizza is perfect, but their pasta sauce is just a hair sweet. So that's just something you should think about when you go there. But yeah, you watch them, it's open kitchen. You see the giant, wood burning stove. You watch them, flip the, they fresh mozzarella they do it all right. So yeah, it's definitely worth going to if you're ever in New Orleans.
And the Chiefs are just tied it up. They're going to kick the extra point and be up 24-23 at the half.
Well, this is exactly what you'd want if you're the NFL.
And this is the game that has lived up to all the hype thus far. And a defensive touchdown was caused by who else other than Aaron Donald?
Of course it was.
Stripped Mahomes and somebody else picked up and ran it in.
Aaron Donald. It seems like if you're a defensive player that can get pressure and cause sacks and fumbles like Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, maybe TJ Watt, you can really make a huge difference.
So did we decide we're going to take next week off for a Thanksgiving break for everybody?
I think we may take it off. We'll play it by ear though.
Okay.
So you may get a bonus episode, you may not. We'll see how it goes.
Kansas City misses the extra point. LA missed their first extra point. So the halftime score is going to be 23-all.
I know I saw one of those stat people, and they said that there haven't been more missed kicks this year than normal. And I can't.
That's ridiculous.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think it's right either.
I feel like there's been so many missed kicks and extra points this year, but I don't know. You know the
There's
stats,
two
guys.
extra points in a half,
Yeah,
one for each team.
and we've had the solid knock on wood kickers missing extra points. Justin Tucker
Yeah.
missed an extra point. He doesn't miss anything. And I don't think I really had a great. Oh, here's my entertainment moment. If you get a chance, watch Searching with John Cho and Deborah Messing. It's a really tight thriller. I think it's like an hour, 30 minutes. And I know I was initially sort of turned off because it looked like it was a movie where a lot of the camera was focused on a computer screen, which
Yeah.
is true, and it is. But it's really well done, and it says a lot about our lives online and how if you were searching, it's really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to wish all of our listeners a happy Thanksgiving. We're thankful we have you as listeners, and we'd be even more thankful if we had more of you, right, Jason?
Oh, we would definitely like more. So, subscribe, tell your friends, all those good things, and I guess we'll talk to you maybe next week. If not, either next week or the week after, depending on how Thanksgiving plans go. But definitely enjoy your holiday.